there's no canoes involved.
With douching.
I hope not. That's out in the open. We built this deck. We built this deck. We built this deck on CommanderSmiths. You got it. Oh man, I forgot actually who even does this.
Oh, you were both gonna, because I was hoping you'd give me the name now, because
I had it.
Is it we built this city on rock and roll, of course.
Yes.
Is that Bruce Springsteen?
No. It's some obscure band.
Some obscure band that we should both know, and now I'm very embarrassed for ourselves.
Yeah. Hold on a second. Give me a second. It's Starship. It's called Starship.
What? That's the name of the band?
Yeah.
Okay, I wouldn't have come up with that.
Exactly.
Embarrassing.
This is all that prep work I do for the songs.
You didn't even come up with the name. You're like, I hope he guesses it.
Somebody,
knows the name.
I didn't know any words after other than those like 3 lines.
Nice. Anyways, welcome to CommanderSmiths. I am Adam Smith.
And I'm Lowery Smith.
And we are cousins. We mentioned once or twice.
I think Grandpa's getting a paternity test to figure out.
To see if we're actually cousins?
Yeah. Well, not really the cousins part. To see if our dads are brothers and stuff like that.
Well, that would be cousins then,
That's
right?
how that works. But not for that reason. This
is episode number 7.
7.
Lucky number 7.
I like that.
Yeah. So rolling along, you can follow us on Twitter at CommanderSmiths.
And you can also email us at CommanderSmiths@gmail.com.
And also, you can catch us on YouTube.
Podbean, what we originally kind of podcast on, they distribute to a lot of different places.
Yeah, so actually you can... It's on iTunes. It's on Apple. It's on iTunes and iTunes.
Apple. What? What about oranges?
You can get on Google and Google Play, all that stuff. So it's kind of crazy.
Wherever you want.
Yeah.
I'm pretty
we
sure
actually have
there.
listeners in Australia. What did it say? United Kingdom, Canada, and then we have one person that downloaded one episode in France. So we're worldwide right now.
Thank you, French, for your support.
So this episode we're going to kind of break this down into 3 sections. I know we talked last week we were going to break down Dominaria a little bit.
Spoilers throughout the week.
But nothing got spoiled, so there's still about 100 plus cards.
Well, I mean, they spoiled a couple of cards, but not enough that we would want to talk about it. So we'll just let it build up a little bit more.
Yeah, we didn't want to break down, okay, we're going to talk about green, and then they have like 20 cool green cards that got revealed in the next couple weeks. And then do it again. So we're kind of holding off a little bit on that. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to first talk about
Brawl,
which
is the new format that Wizards has announced. I believe it was last week that they announced it.
Yep, they did. Yep. And then we're going to go into our second segment, which will be core cards for Commander.
Artifact Edition.
I don't know what the was, but that...
No, it's off the cuff. I love all this. It's great. And then we'll finish off with specs as we normally do, the speculation part of cards that we like.
But Lowery has to get something off his chest here.
So
not chest hair, chest here.
A card that I peed on last week.
Oh, we're back to the pee again.
Yeah, Firesong and Sunspeaker. That's the
one that he basically had to change his pants afterwards because he loves this commander.
So it's 4 colorless, red and a white for, just a reminder, 4/6. Whenever you have a red instant, deal damage, you gain that. It has lifelink. And whenever you have a white spell, gain life.
We should remember that we talked about this for about 10 minutes.
I love this card.
But
here's the crazy thing. You can't get it in boxes or packs or bundles.
Anything.
You can only get it as the buy a box promo from your local gaming store.
Which you can't. Which we bought boxes ahead of time online, and actually I messaged the guy and I was like, "Hey, can we get that buy a box?" And he's like, "Sorry, you're out of luck."
Yeah.
Because they only have a limited amount they even get. Even if you have a whole crate of boxes, they only have a limited amount each store gets.
It's like 60 max
at the big stores.
A big store.
Yeah, most of them aren't getting that many. So.
And so this is going to end up being a really limited supply for the card, and
in turn is going to make the card go crazy.
Yeah.
It already is sold out. Like, I know it's not out yet, but you can normally pre-order it. All the pre-orders are completely sold out.
I think everybody just had to remove it from their listing because you have no idea how many. This is going to be such a short print run for the card that.
And it's me a foil.
And it's foil, and it's a legend, and it's super frustrating because I wanted to build with this card, but I don't want to pay $20, $30, $40, whatever it's going to end up. I don't know what it's going to be. It could end up being a $3 card, but not having the opportunity to be able to go and get the card is pretty frustrating.
Well, what I said to you is we had that 15% off on our boxes, so we saved about $15. If it's less than 15, just go ahead and go and buy it.
If there's even if anybody's going to put it out there.
Yeah, now it's not there, so that's kind of disappointing.
And so Saffron Olive on MTG Goldfish has a really good article on the problems with unique promos, and he has it's a bit of a lengthy article. It has some history with a lot of this stuff, but it really does cause problems, and I think there's already been a bunch of complaints, and I don't think Wizards plans on doing this again already.
Really?
Yeah. I think they heard the outcry and were like, oh, okay, we'll back off. Because, Mana Crypt, which we've talked about, that was a buy a book promo. Buy a book? It only came with a book back in the day.
So then they just kept reprinting it, not in any sets. They just kept doing like the Judge promos. They just promo until they printed it in the Expedition.
Eternal Masters.
And then it came into the Expedition stuff, the Inventions.
Oh, Inventions, yeah.
Because that's the one I got from that.
Yeah. So. And so that's a problem card, that they just kind of just slowly doled it out in the promos.
Well, and that's a $100 card at minimum right now.
Yeah.
Because it's never really had it.
Good,
yeah, it's good, but they didn't have it in any set or anything like that besides.
So don't get me wrong, Firesong and Sunspeaker isn't that good of a card.
You're just disappointed because that was your P target from last week.
I'm not going to be able to get it easily or as cheap as it really should be because I don't see it as a $20, $30 card.
No, definitely not.
But it could be just because of supply.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you go out and buy a $20, $30 card like this, they could turn around and reprint it in
something in the commander
set non-foil, and it comes out it'll be 50 cents.
Yeah, but you'd always have that foil because you can't. They're not going to do foil in a commander set. So Lowry's bitter.
That makes me feel way better.
Yeah. Hey, Lowry, I got this for 50 cents. Oh, I bought mine for 40.
Yeah.
We'll move right into Brawl after that, or into that. Actually, that was kind of the same news. They were talking about that, and then they came out and told us about Brawl, which is a new format for Commander, which is kind of exciting. It's mixed emotions. So basically, what Brawl is instead of your 100-card deck, you have a 60-card deck.
60-card deck.
You still have your commander as your general,
and it's either a legendary creature or a
planeswalker. But there is no commander damage anymore. They take that out.
Okay.
And then your life is 30.
30.
And then also you have to go with the standard rules. So whatever's in standard.
In standard. It's a singleton format like Commander. That's why it's like a hybrid between Commander and Standard.
So there's a couple things with this. I feel like they're doing this for a couple things. I feel like they're trying to push people to buy more Standard. And they know that a big audience of Magic is Commander, and to get the Commander players to buy each set, we buy a box every single time just because we like opening boxes and getting new cards and stuff.
Yeah, but it's Christmas 4 times a year.
Exactly. Well, more than that because I'm gonna buy the special sets and everything. But
Commander
most Commander players don't do that. They typically have their baby deck or their babies decks. They make a deck and then they stick with it. And
whenever one card comes out for
they'll buy it and they'll put it in their deck. Yeah. But for the most part, that's their deck, and they don't really buy and make new decks. Now, we're a little bit different. We're
special.
We make decks here and there. You make them more often than I do, but then you tear them apart just as fast. You'll play it and then you take it apart. Yeah. But I feel like this is a way that they're trying to get us Commander players to buy more of these boxes to move their product more, because Standard isn't necessarily moving them right now.
Well, it's where Wizards makes all of their money, and Hasbro makes their money. They don't make any money when a store sells a card from Alpha or Beta or any of these ridiculous prices, or even non-standard cards. they need packs to open and their products to open.
Yeah.
And so I totally agree with you that I think they're trying to bring Commander crowd into Standard and maybe give Standard cards more of a life.
Yeah.
Because you're sitting there thinking like, why didn't they just make Commander for Standard and then go, hey, we got a modern Standard or a modern Commander, Legacy Commander, and just break it up? And it's because Standard can't support 100 card singleton format.
Yeah, no, that'd be ridiculous.
It would be so thin. You would play
anything.
like if you wanted to play an energy deck, you'd play every energy card in those colors that you could do, and it'd be awful.
Yeah,
it'd be awful Magic.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting though because you're gonna build your deck, and then when they cycle out your deck, it's gonna go with how Standard is right now.
Yeah.
So you'll have to keep building new decks, and that's kind of what Wizards wants. One other thing I was thinking about, a reason why they might be doing this is because of Arena. And they might be trying to make this go along with Arena so that people aren't just playing Standard. Because right now they've said that it's Arena's more, and it's still in the beta testing. In fact, they have I just got invited to it for April 6th. They're doing a big stress test where they're taking a whole bunch of people to try to get the system going. But they've said that Arena, which is, if you don't know what Arena is, it's the new platform that Magic is going to. They already have Magic Online, but Arena is the new thing that's going to be kind of like Hearthstone in a way. Hearthstone is like Magic, but now they're trying to take over what Hearthstone took from them because they have all these players that moved over there because it's, you can play it on your phone or...
Magic's just being a bully.
Yeah. So what they've said is that it's going to be more like Standard is what Arena is going to be.
Yeah, and they're starting from a certain point and then just moving forward.
Yep, exactly.
They're not going to go back.
So what I think they want to do is have, instead of it just being Standard, they want to have multiple games you can play. So you can have your Commander Standard and your regular Standard. And then that's how Arena is going to kind of work. And I think that's a good idea for Wizards on their part because they're going to have two little formats going at the same time.
Does that mean that they're going to bring back Block then for Arena? Do you know what Block is?
No.
So Block, they got rid of Block a couple years ago. But Block is basically after a whole set comes out, they used to have a full tournament based around you only build a deck out of cards from that block.
Yep.
And so
I didn't realize they had a tournament with it.
Yeah,
so they did it just for that block.
That's how it used to be.
Because when we do our pre-releases, that's kind of what they do when we on some of those.
Similar,
where they would give us just
it's not as limited because you can get four ofs and
yeah. So I'm mixed with Brawl. I see what they're kind of possibly doing because I'm excited for Arena to be able to play that along with the card format. But if there's something that's like Commander on Arena,
See, I guess I can understand why they're making it. It doesn't thrill me the slightest. Like, I don't want to play this at all because I'm competitive enough to want to go and buy the good planeswalkers in those colors.
Yeah.
And then I know those planeswalkers are going to drop after they rotate. And it's the same problem that I have with Standard is the value just isn't there because you're spending money on the new Vraska that's like $15-$20 and it's going to end up being under probably around 10 when it
rotates out.
And so you instantly know you're going to lose $5 to $10 and it just
I totally agree with that. I mean,
and so it's definitely not for me. It's not geared towards me.
I guess I'm more excited with the not paper part of it. I'm more excited that if they do go with the Arena part and it's part of Arena, I guess that's what I'm excited for. I think before I thought about that too much, I was also thinking this might be a way that they're trying to get Commander into be more in a tournament type thing because they don't have Commander tournaments at all. So that was one of my other thoughts was maybe this is their way of trying to get Commander players to go to the Grand Prix and go to all the different events, actually have events for Commander.
You definitely have side events at the Grand Prix
for
Commander. I don't know, and Commander really, I don't want it to be like uber competitive because that's just going to make other cards just spike even more ridiculously than...
You don't like cards spiking?
Not spiking. I like them to have a value, and I'm fine with them going up after people like realize that they're good and they want to play with them, and so they get them to their collection. I don't want somebody going, oh, somebody played this card in Commander and they won the Commander tournament off of it.
No, it's
spikes $100, and then you're just like, then everybody's buying it, and there are speculators out there that just buy up stuff in groups. I don't like that part.
Yeah, I guess we'll see if they're actually going to do it. Because if they don't put it in Arena, if it is just a paper thing, then I'm not as excited, I guess.
The one thing I like about this idea is that they're trying to do Planeswalkers as your legend as well, as your commander. I might become really more of like that.
Do you feel like that might become more of a norm then? That they might actually switch the rules around so that commanders are...
I would appreciate
Planeswalkers
that.
Could be commanders.
If you're listening, I would like that.
Yeah, please.
To make it just fun.
Yeah.
I think. I like
it gives you more
commander.
options to play different commanders and everything like that.
Brawl once again is kind of it's a commander standard mashup. You have 60 cards in the deck. One of them is going to be your commander, which can be a legend or a planeswalker. You start with 30 life, and other than basic lands, you only get a one card of each different type within that commander's identity.
Do you think we would build... I don't think we'll build decks like this.
No.
I'm trying to think, because it makes the game
I'm not
go
interested.
faster for us, but I don't think we'll actually take part of it. It'll just mainly be if it goes online, then I'll definitely play it if it's on Arena once that's actually up and running.
You would have to, yeah.
Because that would be the thing I would focus on if that was there. But anyway, so I guess we got to wait and see. I like the idea that they're coming out with another format. It'll be interesting to see what happens with that. Yeah. Next, we're going to move into, what do we call it again, Lowery?
Core cards for Commander.
Artifact Edition.
We'll get good at that, I swear.
So this section, or this segment, we're just talking about the cards that we feel when you're starting your deck, almost every deck, you want to look at these cards to have in your collection to potentially put into your deck. A lot of these, I wouldn't say a lot, a good chunk of these will go in almost every single deck that you build.
Yeah, I look at it as kind of like a glue within the deck. They aren't your main focal theme, but they help it along, or they help you move forward or protect and that kind of thing.
And this is actually a shout out to Mark.
Yeah.
He suggested, he was like, you guys talk about the cards like Sensei's top and all that, but I want to know more about what cards you think should be in a deck. So we decided, since this week is kind of a week that we're kind of taking off from the Dominaria stuff, we'll bring in the artifacts. We'll do each color eventually. When we get some breaks and everything like that. But we figured artifact would be a good place to start, because those are going to go in a majority deck more than your colored stuff. So why don't we start off with the number one card that is in every single deck pretty much.
And it's been reprinted in every Commander deck.
And it's still at $3.50.
Sol Ring.
Yeah, it is such a good card.
It is, 1 mana artifact, and you can tap it for 2 colorless mana.
It's so good that a lot of people, I believe,
just house ban it.
Yeah, they ban it. We don't. We like having Sol Ring. We haven't noticed a difference with it, but like Goldfish, when they play Commander, I don't think they actually play with Sol Rings.
I don't think they do either.
So that's one card that is banned with.
There are articles on like turn 1 Sol Ring being like percentage of winning the game with a turn 1 Sol Ring is like 50%.
Yeah, it's kind of
it's crazy, and you can find those articles too.
Isn't it banned in 1-on-1?
I don't know much about 1-on-1 Commander.
I'm not 100% sure on that, but I think it is banned on 1-on-1 on Magic Online. But
okay.
Just because if you're the one player that gets the Sol Ring out, then like you just said,
it's pretty much game over. Yeah.
So, and we're gonna kind of continue in this block of Mono Rocks. So it's kind of starting with all these Mono Rocks.
Mono Rocks are basically
your
just
base.
Yeah, your base. They're colorless artifacts that allow you to ramp in any color.
Yeah, so the next one we'll go into is actually kind of a two-part. All the signets and also
talismans.
So the signets, what they do, it's 2 colorless to come out. You can tap 1 colorless and tap it, and then you have a combination. There's 10 of them. So you can either get like red, black, blue, red, but they have every single dual color.
Yeah.
So you just kind of fit it for whatever deck you're playing.
What colors you're playing.
And then similarly,
the Talismans, they only have 5 of them. So there's blue, white, and red, green. And what they do is they're 2 colorless mana artifact come into play, and you can tap them for a colorless or tap them like if it's I believe it's Talisman of Dominance that gives you can tap it for a blue and it'll give you a damage, or tap it for a black and it'll deal you a damage. And that's fine because it's quick. You can actually use it
the turn it comes out. Yeah.
If it's turn 2 that, it's just it speeds you up a lot quicker.
And all those are pretty cheap.
Yeah, they're all under $2.
Yeah, and the signets are between 25 cents and $1. So that's pretty budget. Cards to get in your deck. Next would be Chromatic Lantern. This one's a little bit more spendy, but it is in 50,000 EDH decks.
On EDH Rec.
Yeah, an EDH Rec. And what that is, it's 3 colorless. Comes into play. Your lands you control gain tap and add any color to your mana, and it also taps to give you any color to your mana pool.
Yeah.
So that's pretty ridiculous. This is perfect in any 3 color.
Perfect fitting. Or
2 color, but 3 color or more, it's a must have in those decks.
Yeah, and I love it in mana intensive decks as well. Like Riku of 2 Reflections.
Yeah.
You're able to just tap your mana willy-nilly and not worry about a green and a blue and a red and blue and all your mana cost along with it. You just tap everything that you want. You don't have to. You
don't
can
have
just
to worry
shortcut
about
it and just do
exactly.
it.
Yeah.
And so it kind of feels good.
Yeah, and that one's sitting at about $15 right now.
Some similar cards I would say that are like 3 mana that tap for a certain color. It would be something like Darksteel Ingot, which is indestructible, and you
that's
can tap
only a 50-cent card right there.
It's and you just tap it, and it'll give you whatever color that you need.
But the big part of that is being indestructible is the nice part.
Pretty important.
Because there are a lot, not a lot, but I mean, there's a handful of the 3 drops any color, but then they don't really do any. I mean,
yeah,
they can get wiped out pretty easily.
Yeah, and they don't do anything extra. Where you could find extra stuff, like another one like Commander Sphere, which is 3 mana, taps for any color that your commander has.
But
you can sacrifice it to draw a card
at any time. So if somebody's destroying it, you're like, well, I just sacrifice it. Thanks, I draw a card.
You can bring it back from your graveyard. You can abuse that one a lot, and that's a really good card to have as well.
What else do we have for our 3s? Is that it for our 3s?
Those are like the main important ones that I would have.
Because then we also do have Fellwar Stone, but that was a 2-drop.
That's at 2.
Yeah, so that would go back in with the signets. So we forgot to mention that one. But Fellwar Stone, it's 2, comes into play. You can tap it to give you any color of that your opponents have that they can produce. So most of the time, if you're playing if there's 3 other people,
you're going to get whatever color you want.
Exactly. So Fellwar Stone's a really good one. That one's 75 cents, so also a pretty cheap one to have in your deck. Another one, this one's a little more expensive because it's only been in the commander stuff, is Thought Vessel.
Thought Vessel's really good though because and it's 2 mana, taps for 1 mana, and then you can have as many cards in your hand as you have.
Yeah.
You have no restrictions.
So it's a library of Lenge.
No,
because that goes on top. But
it's a spell book.
Yeah, there we go, spell book. That's a proper word. I was thinking, because Library of Lenge was the first one that we could do where you didn't have a maximum hand size. But the difference with Library of Lenge is you can discard and put it on top of your library instead of your graveyard. So false, Adam.
That's fine. Yeah, if you can draw a ton of cards and then keep them in your hand, not have to discard down to 7, that's really important if you're drawing a ton of cards.
Now, some of the more expensive ones to still have, but they're going to cost you a little bit. But Gilded Lotus is a good one to have. That's a 5-drop artifact, and it gives you 3 of any color.
3, so you can get like 3 green out of it or 3 red.
Yep, and then the one we talked about earlier, Crypt.
Yeah,
that one, if you have the money to do it, it's good, but that's a 0-drop artifact.
That'll get you 2 mana.
2 mana, but then at the beginning of your turn, you flip a coin.
If you lose a flip, it deals you 3 damage.
But in Commander, you got 40 life.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty good trade-off.
You can lose the flip 10 times and still be at 10 life.
Yeah, exactly. But you get that 2 bonus. It doesn't stay tapped, which is the nice thing. Because you kind of have that downfall with Monovault, which is one of our other cards that's on the list. And Monovault does. It's also. You should talk about the other one too.
Monovault is tap 1 for an artifact, and then you can tap it for 3 colorless mana. During your upkeep, you need to pay 4 colorless mana to untap it.
And it's very similar to another expensive card.
But the whole thing is, if you don't untap it, it deals you a damage. Yeah. The other one is Grim Monolith, which I think we've mentioned in the past.
Lowery has it. I don't have
that story.
Sad Adam.
So it's 2 mana for an artifact, and when you tap it, it'll give you 3 colorless mana, and then you have to pay 4 to untap it.
But it doesn't do a damage to you.
Yeah, it doesn't do the damage. Yeah. They're both really powerful cards for early games.
Monovault's around 24, but
I'm not. Yeah, a Grim Monolith is like 60, 70.
Yeah, that one's a little more expensive.
The one thing about those two staying tapped, I like at least a little bit of synergy, being able to untap them without so Voltaic Key or Seaborn Muse.
Yeah.
Unwinding Clock.
So you kind of have to have that stuff in that deck already. So you really those
to make me feel comfortable where I'm just not. If I wanted a Dark Ritual, I just put Dark Ritual in. I want to be able to reuse my mana rocks.
Yeah. I think that does it for the mono rocks, right?
One thing that I like think about when it comes
Ashnods.
I look at that a little bit different, but. We could talk about Ashnod's Altar is a 3-mana artifact where you can sacrifice any creature you control.
Yeah, it's not a mono rock.
And it gives you 2 colorless mana. I look at it as a sacrifice engine.
Yeah.
That can you can fuel a Grave Pact, or you can just pump out a bigger creature if you have more tokens, and so you have a nice.
It's only $3 too, but it's
a cheap one to get.
26,000 decks. I mean, most of these that we talked about. Every single one of them is over 20,000 decks. I mean,
they're commonly used.
Yeah. The Soul Ring's in the one that's 180,000 decks. But yeah, other than that, I mean, they're all. If you're getting over 10,000 decks in EDH, then that's quite a bit of decks that they're in. So
one thing that I try and look for when it comes to mana rocks is like if I have like a 4, a commander that costs 4. I would like it to come out on turn 3. So the signets are really important.
Yeah.
But if I have a commander that's sitting at like 6 mana, then I'd much prefer to have the 4 mana, like a Thrawn Dynamo or the Gilded or Gilded Lotus.
I don't
at
tend
5.
to put the Thrawn Dynamo in my decks as much. It's used a lot though.
Yeah, they're really good.
Yeah, it is very good.
So it puts you in your late game so much earlier. But I generally try and if I have a 2 mana commander, which there's not a ton, granted, but the 2 mana rocks aren't as important to me. I want 1 mana or 3 to get me further.
Yeah.
So I try and build a little bit with my commander in mind and allowing me to either get there but not have it get in the way.
Do you have like a set number of mono rocks that you throw in there? Do you typically?
No.
I don't either, but I try to get around 10 at some point if I can. It depends. It all depends on the deck, too.
It really does depend on the deck. I think I generally have like 6, including other ways of ramping. Yeah. So I think 10's a decent number for just trying to ramp with your mana base.
Yeah, I agree. Next, we're going to go into the utility. The utility artifacts. Yeah. Unless there was something else you want to talk about.
No, I think that was about everything for mana rocks.
Okay, yeah. Then utility, we'll start off with the number 1, Sensei's Divining Top. We've talked about this one before. I think everybody should have this in their deck because it's a good way to filter through and
the top of your library and get the best pick out of the top 3 cards.
Yeah, it's a 1-drop. Tap 1, look at the top 3 cards of your library, then put them back in any order. It is very hard to kill because you can also tap it to draw a card and then put Sensei's top on top of your library. So if somebody's like, destroy all artifacts, you're like, how about I just draw a card instead and this goes on top?
Yeah, and then I'm just drawing Sensei's Divining Top next.
Yeah, so it's pretty good. I mean, you got a cheater among you when they get turn 1 Soul Ring into Sensei's and then use the top 1 to look at the top 3. We've seen that happen many times.
Yeah.
that person has to die first.
That's your brother, I think.
Yeah. What, like 3 consecutive games?
You're like, oh, there's something wrong there.
Cheater!
But like the cool thing about it is like during your upkeep, you untap all your lands. You can still pay 1 to look at the top 3 cards and then draw the best card out of there.
Yeah. The only thing it's missing is being able to reshuffle your library.
And that's why shuffle effects are pretty important.
Yeah. And then next one, Paradox Engine.
Paradox Engine is a ban-worthy card in our opinion.
We haven't spec'd on this one because of the fact that it just seems like it's going to get banned.
So it's an artifact that is, whenever you cast a spell, you untap all of your non-land permanents. So your lands would stay tapped, but you untap creatures, your artifact, your mana rocks. That would be really important.
Yeah.
And then it costs 5 mana to come out, and it's
ridiculous.
It really is an engine. Like
you
just can play card after card after card.
It feels like if somebody gets Paradox Engine out, they pretty much win the game. And like, we don't play with it a lot. I have it in 1, maybe 2 decks, but pretty much when I get it out, it's with Rashmi.
Yeah,
your
Rashmi.
favorite, Rashmi.
It's game over.
Because it's just, you could cast something and you untap everything. It's just insane.
Yeah.
But that's why we haven't really spec'd on this one, because it just felt like right when it came out, it was going to get banned. But
I really thought it was.
They haven't banned it. It's in nearly 10,000 decks, so it's being used, and there hasn't. I haven't heard,
and it's never being used fairly.
Yeah, but I haven't. Have you heard talk of them banning it?
No,
it's just more of us talking, saying it was such a broken card.
When coming out, you're just like, what?
But if they keep it not. I mean, if it stays not banned, I think this is a must-have, and you just have to be ready that one day they might ban it.
Yeah, and I fully the concept of untapping things is so powerful in Commander because you have so many permanents that can untap.
Yeah,
I would definitely want one of these for my deck.
Yeah, definitely. Then we move into Aetherflux Reservoir. I talked about this last week as my spec. Well, last week or the week before, one of the two.
But it's in a ton of decks.
Yeah, that's another 10,000 decks. What that one is every time you cast a spell, you gain a life for each spell that has been cast that turn, and then you can pay 50 life to do 50 damage to a player. And I believe it's 4 casting costs.
It's 4 mana. 4 mana to
come out. And so it's just, even if you're not trying to use the 50 life to kill somebody or comboing off or whatever you do with that, it's still a good life gain. Just cast 2 spells, you gain 3 life right there. Because 1, 2.
Yep. And then 3 spells get you 6 life, and it's a really powerful card. And 50 damage, being able to deal 50 damage is pretty intense.
And it's only $1.25 right now. Paradox Engine, before I forgot to mention it, it's $15, so it's a little more expensive.
Oh, is it up there?
Yeah, it's going up in price because it's not getting banned. So people are like, well, might as well buy it.
I guess I'll play it.
Yeah. So but yeah, Aetherflux Reservoir, good life engine there.
Next one that we think that is kind of pretty much a must-have for a lot of decks is Mind's Eye, which is a 5 mana artifact. And whenever an opponent draws a card, you can pay 1 colorless, and you get to draw a card.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet because you just basically leave your land open because you know that they're going to be drawing.
There's going to be at least 3. Like if you're in a 4-person game, there's going to be at least 3 cards drawn.
Yeah.
Before your next turn.
Before your turn, and then you draw. It's simple. It's not. You don't have to do any tricks with that one. It's.
Drawing cards is really important from what I've been told.
That and getting land out. That's
you want your land drops in Commander, and you want to be able to draw cards.
Larry is the king at drawing and getting his land drops.
Yeah, I really like it.
He gets picked on.
Yes, I do. One way that I generally use Mind's Eye, I don't put it in all of my decks because I want my 5 drops and 6 drops to be super powerful, like almost game ending.
Yep.
But this is a really amazing card in like a low curve deck like elves or goblins, where everything's under 4 mana, like 4 mana and under.
Yeah.
And then you can play this and you have a lot of mana open just to easily use it and still further your game plan.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Very good. Yeah, I need to start. I have a Mind's Eye, but I just picked that up recently in the last year or so. So that needs to start making its way into some decks here. Next is, I think, a card we've talked about before, but it's an awesome card. But it's,
I mentioned it in my Animar.
Yeah, Panharmonicon, which is 4 colorless artifact. If an artifact or a creature entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to I'm not reading right. Of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. So anything that you have that's in play and you play something and it causes a triggered ability, it does it twice. It's a little confusing, so not because of my reading. My reading was confusing. I wish I could reread it over. I made it so it sounded really confusing.
So go and check the link for Panharmonicon underneath our podcast or YouTube or whatever. It'll be there. You can find it, read it yourself. From what I hear, you have good reading skills. Everybody out there.
Larry.
So, but it's for everything that triggers as well. So, going back to the example of the Animar deck, I put that in there. I have an elemental that comes in and it deals 6 damage. So it deals 6 damage. If Animar is in play, I get to put 2 1/1 counters on that as well. So it'll trigger everything that triggers doubles.
Yeah.
And that's
I almost feel like you can not catch everything with what triggers.
There's a lot that can trigger, and you can be like, "Ooh, I missed some triggers," and that's okay because I'm ahead.
Yeah. And then we move into Vedalken
Orrery. It's a 4-mana artifact, and
this one's kind of rose in price recently.
Yeah, well, so what it does is it allows you to play at instant speed. You can play any spell anytime you want, so you don't have to play on your turn. You can wait until the end of your opponent's turn,
which is always better because there's board wipes. If you want to wait until right before your turn, boop, 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 pop everything out. Or even if somebody's attacking you and you have a big fatty in your hand.
And then you can just slap that fatty down and
slap that fatty.
Make them have that surprised face.
I think isn't the reason that this more so is going up in prices because the banning of what's her face? The green chick. What one is that? Did the same thing though.
Prophet of Crufix.
There we go.
Prophet of Crufix was very similar. I think that just did that for creatures.
Yeah.
But that also untapped all your lands. Prophet of Crufix was absolutely bonkers.
It was pretty crazy.
This was always kind of used a whole ton. But the reason why it's on the rise is just because supply is drying up, I would say.
Yeah.
Because it was reprinted in a conspiracy.
Yep.
And so that sated the thirst of Commander players. And now there's more and more people buying them all up, and it's just slowly
it's about
rising.
$18 right now. So
yeah.
Next one is one that I've had on my spec list that I feel like should be in more decks. It's only in 3,000 EDH decks, but it's Mirage Mirror. That's that 3-drop. You can tap 2 to make it turn into anything in play. Pretty much, it's artifacts, lands, creatures, and I think that's it. Yeah. So those 3. But basically, if anybody tries to kill it, you just change it into anything.
After destroy target artifact, you can turn it into a creature, and then that null and voids that removal spell.
It just makes it so more balanced if somebody else is, they have something crazy out on their side.
If somebody brings out attacks you with a Blightsteel Colossus, you're like, I tap 2, and both of our creatures die.
Yeah. So that I feel like should be in more decks, and so that's just personal.
It's really versatile.
Yeah, it just hasn't been used very much. Next one,
Relic of Progenitus. It's a 1-mana artifact. When it comes into play, you can tap it, and then one of your opponents, whoever you choose, has to remove a card in their graveyard. It's their choice, or you can tap 1, sacrifice it, or exile it. And exile all graveyards from play.
Yeah,
it's exiling it, and so it's really important to have some type of graveyard removal in your deck.
Yeah, because
just random
you don't know
1 or 2 of
who you're going against, and a lot of times people can bring stuff back from their graveyards.
Yeah.
Most of the time, if you're building an EDH deck, you do have that ability.
Some type of recursion from your graveyard.
Because your stuff's going to die.
It's bound to happen. And it's like a $5 card right now, $4 or $5.
Yep.
A cheaper version would be like Tormod's Crypt, which is 0 mana. You play it into free, and then you can tap it, sacrifice it right away, and you can exile 1 graveyard. Yeah. So if you have some shenanigans you want to be doing and you don't want to exile your own graveyard, that's probably a better card than Relic of Progenitus. But for a general use, Relic is really solid card.
And then we go into Expedition Map, which is a good searching for mana cards. It's 1 drop. You can tap 2, sacrifice it, and go search for any land. Any land.
That's not basic land. That's any land.
Chaos Cradle.
we had gone 2 episodes without you mentioning that. I generally use it with like
Gaia's Cradle.
Urborg.
Gaia's Cradle. Do you use it with Gaia's Cradle? Or Gaia's Cradle? Gaia's Cradle?
Whatever.
How do you like to say it? Do you say it a lot?
I don't.
I think most of the time you say, kill that Gaia's Cradle.
Generally,
Gaia's Cradle.
I add land destruction in for that
card.
For that card. Yep. I make sure that I have some type of land destruction for that. But that you could do that.
So what other cards can you go search for?
Cabal Coffers.
There we go.
Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth, and then there's a Maze of Ith. There's a ton of lands that you would want to go and get.
And that we'll get into that in our future episodes.
Yeah, we were going to talk about lands today, and I was like, there's
so many. It has to be a standalone episode. We can't really have anything else to talk about.
So many.
And then let's move into the equipment. So the first equipment, is there anything else you could think of off those?
No, I think that's proper for utilities.
So 2 of them I kind of want to talk about at the same time is Lightning Greaves and Swiftfoot Boots, because they kind of go hand in hand. You got Lightning Greaves is a $4 card. It's 2 to come out, and then it's a 0 to attach or equip it, but it gives it Shroud.
And haste.
And you can't target it. So that's what Shroud is, if you guys don't know, because that's kind of an older ability.
And then Swiftfoot Boots is giving it hexproof, which means you can target it, nobody else can, and haste. But that's 1 mana to equip.
So you can't
2 to come
abuse it, because there's certain times when Lightning Greaves is very nice when you're able to move it from one to the other without having to waste mana to do it. Both of them are in a crap ton of decks. Lightning Greaves is in 77,000 decks. That's a $4 card, so it's still not that expensive. They keep reprinting that in Commander decks and everything. And Swiftfoot Boots is in 68,000 decks, and that's only 50 cents because they printed that a crap ton.
It's protection for your best creature out there,
which
and
is
it's
also
also
general.
Haste.
And then let's go into
Skullclamp is probably the most broken equipment ever printed. It's 1 mana, 1 to equip. It gives your creature +1/-1. Whenever that creature
-1?
Yeah, it's perfect. So whenever that creature dies, you get to draw 2 cards.
So let your
1/1 die to draw 2 cards.
Or if you're really, you get your general out and you don't want it to die, well, at least if somebody does a board wipe or kills it, you get to draw 2 cards. It'll make people think twice about killing.
That doesn't actually work.
Go into your
commander goes into the command zone. It doesn't trigger the dies. Yeah, so that wouldn't work in protecting your commander.
Your other big fatty, that's awesome.
Yes.
Or you could choose for it to go into your graveyard and you could draw 2.
You could do that as well.
If your commander was whatever, you had a way of bringing it back from the graveyard.
Yeah. There's one that does that.
Think about that.
No, you got me. Totally got me.
Totally planned that out. And then we go into the swords. There's Sword of Feast and Famine, Fire and Ice, Light and Shadow, Body and Mind, War and Peace. But really the one that you really want to focus on is the Feast and Famine.
Yeah, this goes into the untapping thing that we talked about with Paradox Engine, but this gives your creature, it's 3 mana to come out, 2 to equip, gives a creature protection from black and green, and whenever that creature deals damage to an opponent, they discard a card and you untap all of your lands.
Yeah, that's the ridiculous part.
Untapping your lands, it's basically giving you a second turn.
Yeah.
To be able to cast stuff.
You get to do that your second main phase.
Super powerful.
Tap all out, do whatever you got to do, attack, get through. And the thing is even if people aren't black and green, which most of the time that's a good shot that you might be able to get through with just the protection.
Greens are really powerful color and
but
commander.
Even still, you might find somebody that you either have a flyer or you have somebody that's open, and you just need to nail somebody to. You got to nail somebody.
Nail them.
You got to nail them to untap them.
Boom.
But it's a little steep on price. It's. You laughing at yourself with your boom and nailing?
No, I'm laughing at you for laughing at nailing.
But it's at $33. It's in 16,000 decks, so it's used quite a bit. I try to put this in quite a bit into my decks. Not in every deck, but I use it quite often.
I use it.
It's got to be in kind of more of a heavy creature deck.
I don't know about that. Like, I think it's really good in counterspell decks because it allows you to play on other people's turn as well as your turn. You know what I mean? So you can play during your first main phase, your creatures, and then you can untap all your lands.
I don't. Are we talking about a different card? I was like, this card doesn't allow you to play on other people's turns. I was so confused for a second. It's like, what the hell are you talking about?
Sorry.
It's like, what, did we go on to another card that
get on my level, Adam? Get on my level.
Just sat there with a blank stare. You're like, do you know what I'm talking about?
You got a blank stare for radio.
Yeah, I got you, Larry. That's a good idea.
Sometimes I don't even know why we talk.
Well, why don't you go
Brick
to the next
wall.
sword? Because
Brick wall.
Yeah,
Which one? You want to talk about Sword of the Animist?
Yeah.
So that's a 2-mana artifact, and it costs 2 to equip, and it gives you creature +1/+1. The cool part about it is whenever your creature attacks, or that creature attacks, you get to search for a basic land and put it into play tapped.
Yeah, so it's a good going and filtering through, finding land. And like we said, drawing and getting land is very, very important.
Yeah, it's and just being able to like put that in non-green decks is really important.
Yeah,
because green is the best at going and putting lands from your deck into play. And so I don't know if this would be the best card there because I generally don't put it there because I'd rather have different spells. But I'll put this in a black and white deck, and it's really good. Or a blue deck, allowing you to get ahead on the blue spells. So,
and then our last equipment that we think you should have. This one's a little expensive, but Lowry actually has had this one for a while, and then I just picked it up because Lowry plays it all the time, and it's ridiculous. But Yumazawa's
Jit
it's a 2-drop, and this does so much stuff. So whenever equipped creature deals combat damage, so it doesn't matter if it gets blocked or doesn't get blocked,
it can deal it to a creature or an opponent.
Exactly.
Any type of combat damage.
You get to put 2 counters on it. So now the 2 counters are on that. If the creature dies, you still have the 2 counters on that.
They're on the equipment.
On the equipment. So you can do one of 3 things actually.
Yep.
You can remove a counter to give your creature 2/2, or you can remove a counter to give a creature -1/-1, or you can remove a counter to gain 2 life. And the equip cost is it 1 or 2?
2.
So it's insane. Like, you just let the counters build up, and you can do it at instant speed.
Utility.
It's not tapping to do it.
It's amazing with vigilance.
Yeah.
It's amazing with double strike.
Double strike is where you have used this.
It's great in Atraxa because you just keep on building counters on it.
Yeah.
As long as you have one on there. It's colorless removal. So like if a creature can't take damage or you just it's
around
so good.
Indestructible, everything like you're talking. Yeah.
It gets around. Yeah, it gets around indestructible. It's a great card.
Yep.
Or it just gains you life if no creature's on the battlefield and they're getting rid of everything.
Exactly.
You're just like, well, I guess I'll gain 4 life.
Yeah. I suppose. But yeah, Lowry used this so many times and I was like, all right, I gotta get one. So I actually got 2 because of a trade on frickin' Puka.
Yeah, one out of 5 trades.
Well, it's because I had to actually trade $35 worth to get that, but you can get this for 20 if you get. I bought mine from the Vault version, which is a foil version. It's pretty sweet, but it's running about $20. But that one's a must-have that not a lot of our play group has. Agreed, and I feel like everybody should have this in their deck.
Yeah, and I know that it's really powerful, and there are people out there that don't like it either. But I think it's something that you should probably have for your collection.
Yeah. I agree. And then our last card is finally we have our first and only creature that we feel like you should have in almost every single deck.
Every single deck. It's Sad Robot, which would be Solemn Simulacrum.
Sad Robot. Beep boop papu.
No, I don't know if you remember this. We were at the M core set pre-release years ago, and one of us had pulled Solemn Simulacrum, and a guy came up and he was like, "Yeah, Sad Robot is so good," and we had the blankest stares. I was like, "What?"
You mean my stare that I just had with you?
Exactly. That's what reminded me of it. I was like, "Oh yeah." So yeah, but Solemn Simulacrum is a 2/2 creature for 4 mana. When it comes into the battlefield, you get to search for a basic land and put it into play tapped, and when it dies, which is going to the graveyard, you get to draw a card. It's just so much value out of a 4-mana creature.
It's ridiculous, yeah, because
with the recursion, the blinking, there's so much you can do with this card. Like again, I did end up making Animar deck, and it's amazing in there.
Yeah, because
I'm just
cast it for free.
Yeah, you're just casting it for free, or it's helping you get ahead.
Yeah,
it does everything that you want in that deck, or even with the sacrifice outlets that I talked about. You're drawing your card when you need it.
Yeah. It's a chump blocker for you too to draw a card.
Yeah, because it's not necessarily a part of like your attacking or your killing game plan. It's just kind of that glue that allows you to move forward in your deck.
I'd say this is in probably 80 to 90% of my decks.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Unless it mostly makes my decks, and it's in 58,000 EDH decks, so that's quite a bit, and it's only running about $7, so I definitely think you should get a copy if you run by our rules. If you just need one and then you just can make some good proxies of it, then you can just have that one, but it's not that expensive. $7. I bet you can find them for $5 somewhere too if you really look hard. Now we're gonna move into our third section, or what do I want to say?
I count the bitching about Firesong and Sunspeaker as our first one.
Wouldn't that be like 0.5?
All right.
Third segment, we're going into specs.
Yeah, our speculations for this week.
Smith specs.
Smith specs. I like doing that. It makes it sound like we're around lasers.
Yeah, don't you? We have sound bar. Dang, words not coming right. Beep boop boop. Sad robot. God. It's being sick is what's happening. It's taking all the medicine.
We're going to blame it on that?
Yeah,
right.
They're not going to blame it on the rain. Ooh, Milli Vanilli.
I don't know that song. I have no idea.
Blame it on the rain. All right.
It sounds awful. Why were these guys famous?
All right, let's go to here. What's your spec, Lau?
All right. So the first one that I want to talk about, it's... Honor Worn Shaku. It's from Champions of Kamigawa. So what it is, it's 3 mana, and then you can tap it, and it gives you 1 mana of one colorless mana. The cool part about it is you can tap a legendary permanent and untap it. So that's like equipment. Legendary equipment you can tap it to untap it, or planeswalkers are legendary now, or just a legendary creature that came into play that has summoning sickness. You can use it there, and it's only $1. And with Dominaria coming out, you're getting a ton of legends.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
And so I can see this card kind of coming up a little bit.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good pick. Very good pick.
And then the other thing is, like, the foils right now are sitting at like right around $8. So the difference between that tells me that the non-foil is going to come up a little bit.
Yeah. Well, has the foils risen recently? Check that. Quick.
That part.
Just click it really quick.
I don't have the Wi-Fi.
It can have the Wi. Oh, yeah. It doesn't have Wi-Fi.
I can't update my stuff. I prep everything before I get here.
Okay, don't go for the foils. Go for the regulars. Can you get back? All right, you got all your stuff back.
No, well, yeah. I have it on different pages this week. Last week we were going through all the legends, and I clicked on one, and I lost all of my info. I was like, shit. It was like second one.
Damn you, Scuba Steve. All right, my first pick of the week. Actually, I just bought 16 of these before we actually started the podcast. It was in my shopping cart for the longest time. I was like, oh, I haven't even finished paying for that. Is Aether Hub, actually. And what I'm looking at is not the normal or the normal foils, it's the Friday Night Magic promo card because the art is different. The foil is freaking sweet. I love the way this art looks. But what this card does is when it comes into the battlefield, you get an energy counter. You can tap it for 1 colorless, so it gives you that no matter what.
Yep.
Or you can tap it, pay 1 energy, and you get any color. So if you're not playing an energy deck, whatever, you get one-time use of any color, but at the same point, it isn't wasted. It isn't gone after that one use. You can actually use it for colorless as well.
Mana, yeah, you're still hitting your drop.
The Friday Night Magic FNM promo is, I got mine for 85 cents. It says on Goldfish it's $1.75, but they were all under $1 right now. And the supply of those have been kind of dwindling up. I mean, there isn't that many left. And
one thing that we talked about beforehand was it's a card that's very similar to is Tendo Ice Bridge from Saviors of Kamigawa.
Yeah, I like that one.
That's a rare, and it's just put a charge counter and then you can tap it for any color. Very similar. But with Aether Hub, you have a lot more support in your energy counters.
Yeah.
So you can just have a couple of random decent energy spells that give you energy in your deck, and then Aether Hub is turned on again.
Yeah.
Whereas Tendo Ice Bridge, you get
one use and you can't pop it.
Yeah. Then
unless you're able to bring it back to your hand, but then this does the same thing. But like you said, there's more support with the energy. So, but yeah, that's I think go for the foil and I like this art better than the original Aether Hub.
I can see that too. Yeah. My second one that I want to talk about here is an old legacy staple, and it's associated with dredge decks in Modern and Legacy. The card is Bridge from Below. Right now, have we talked about this one?
No, that one. I used to have that in one of my decks.
Yeah, you had a dredge deck. Yep. So this is an enchantment that's 3 black mana, but whenever a non-creature is put into your graveyard from play, if Bridge Below is in your graveyard, put a 2/2 black zombie creature token into play. So you need it in your graveyard.
And that has another little downfall.
And then whenever a creature is put into an opponent's graveyard from play, if Bridge from Below is in your graveyard, remove Bridge from Below from your graveyard.
So you kind of want to combo off with that before you kill any of their stuff, because otherwise you lose your Bridge from Below.
So right now it's sitting both. There's a Modern Masters printing and a Future Sight printing, and they're both right around $8. And then and that $8 is kind of like basically a low point for it. It's gotten up to $20, $30 a couple times. Yeah. It just depends on if the deck is hot. And right now, it's not. And so right now, I think it's a good time to buy at least a play set of it. And being able to speculate a little bit on that, I can easily see it
I would say
going up.
I like
Are you thinking
spec.
the best
I
one?
was thinking maybe you go for the foils on
Foil
those.
on the Modern Masters.
Yeah, I mean,
that looks
those
like it's
are
$12.
They're only $4 more than your regular ones, but the potential spike is over 30.
So foils on Modern Master, Bridge from Below. I know that foils for the Modern Masters don't get nearly as popular because the Future Sight one is $45 right now.
Yeah. But it's kind of been at that for a while.
So it just kind of depends on how Dredge as a deck can be really dominant. And I've been noticing more and more people building with Bridge from Below in Modern. And so I feel like there can be a real demand here pretty soon on that card.
Yeah. It looks like at its peak, really, you're looking at the foil Future Sight ones up around $70-$80. I think that's a good spec. You could go anyway with that one. I mean... I think they're all underpriced cards. Yeah, the Future Sight ones are around $44, like Larry said, $45, and that's kind of the low point of the foil Bridge from Below Future Sight. But then, if you really wanted to get in, the Modern Masters foils are completely different art, but they're at $12.
Yeah.
So I kind of like the foils of these when you're talking about.
I can definitely see that being a better choice.
Yeah. So my next one is actually something we just talked about earlier. Is Panharmonicon. I don't want to explain that one again unless Lowry wants to read.
What? You should read it.
But Panharmonicon, what I'm actually shooting for, and this is the foil versions of that, they're sitting around $9 right now, and been at $9 for a long time, and
for its existence.
And like I was mentioning, I think I mentioned it before, but it's in 12,000 EDH decks that just keeps going up. That's quite a bit for a set that came out a year and a half ago or so.
Yeah.
So it's being used more and more in more and more EDH decks. And right now, I feel like Panharmonicon is at the bottom. You can also get the pre-release ones around $9 as well.
Yeah, and the card is just really good.
Yeah. Like we were talking earlier. If I could read before, you'll know. If you look up the card, it's good. I don't want to read it again, Lowry.
No, I think you can. Practice makes perfect.
Yeah.
If you screw up again, we can make fun of you more.
Nope, go ahead, go to your next card.
So the third card that I want to talk about here for speculation is Progenitus. Now, a lot of the different versions are sitting right around $9 above. You have a Conflux version, Modern Masters, and also a From the Vaults version. And those are all basically $10. The foils are $20. But for some reason, Progenitus, the Grand Prix foil, so Progenitus actually, I should actually say what it does. It's 2 white, 2 blue, 2 black, 2 red, 2 green, and it's a 10/10 and has protection from everything. If Progenitus is put in your graveyard from anywhere, reveal it and shuffle it back into your library. Now, like I said, this card's a $10 card, but for some reason, Grand Prix foil is $3.
$3. That's crazy.
So to me, that either all the other printings need to drop a bit and the other one's gonna, in this version, the Grand Prix foil version is going to rise. Maybe they meet at $5. Or this will go up to, roughly $10.
To meet where everything else has.
And
yeah,
so,
this really hasn't moved much at all.
And it's just kind of like...
It's actually just kind of gone down. And it's the print, it looks really good. It looks like the original printing.
Yeah, it's the original Conflux printing. It has like the star foiled across it, which I really like.
Yeah, I dig that too. Yeah, that's kind of crazy.
So
that
unless there's some type
there.
of like printing issue with the card...
Question mark?
Yeah, like I just don't know about that part, but maybe there's like a quality issue with it. It doesn't make sense to me because Progenitus for From the Vaults, I know that printing the foils curve really bad.
It does have a different art.
It's a $12 card though.
Yeah, and it's been up around $20 at some points. Yeah, that's crazy that there's $3 for that for a foil.
So I would definitely that's one that I
picked any up yet?
Nah, I need to sit down and actually buy some cards.
All right, you better buy it tonight before our 40
before we post it. Just kidding. Oh my gosh. Just kidding. People listen to me so much.
I might go buy it after we get done talking here. At least
wait until I get home.
You get first dibs since you're it's your spec.
Thank you.
And then to round up our Smith specs of the week.
Final Smith spec of the week.
Final. Supreme Verdict. I'm shooting for
I don't want to do that anymore.
The Iconic Masters version, foil, $8 right now. So Supreme Verdict is in 17,000 EDH decks, which is kind of insane since it's a 2-color. It's blue and white, so you have to at least have those 2 colors you're playing with, and it's in 17,000 decks.
Yeah.
The cool thing about it is it's 1, 2 white, and blue. It cannot be countered, destroy all creatures. So it's a board wipe that can't get countered, which is freaking awesome.
It's ridiculous.
And it's no more like total casting cost than your Wrath of God or your Damnation.
Yeah.
It's just 2 colors is the thing.
And Wrath of God is, it's always a $5-6 card.
But it can be countered.
yeah, and it could be countered. Damnation, I think, is like $16-25 somewhere in there.
Yeah.
And it can be countered.
Yeah.
This is unstoppable. Not fully true. I mean, Venser stops it.
Yeah.
There are some bounce spells.
But for the most part, I mean, it's $8, and I would go for the
The
Modern
foil.
Masters foil
Iconic.
ones. Iconic.
Iconic.
Back to Iconic. Iconic Masters. But yeah, I would shoot for those. You could get the Return to Ravnica. They're at $12, so $4 more. But either one works. I personally bought the Iconic Masters one.
You're a jerk. You must be drunk.
I was waiting for that. All right.
You're drunk.
You're drunk. I'm drunk on cough medicine. Woo!
That stuff's bad for you.
Well, at least I didn't cough as much. There's some that we cut out in this episode, but for the most part, I only coughed twice during this episode.
And I appreciate you not coughing towards me. Jerk.
Just coughed at the microphone.
Yeah.
Anyways, that should round up this episode. What are we going to talk about next week? We actually probably don't know. I don't really want to do that because we tried to preview last week and we're like, yeah.
I think we've been wrong like 3 weeks in a row, actually.
Hey, we're going to do this next week. Just kidding.
Yeah. Psych. Maybe that should be our thing.
Yeah.
Like kill Kenny and have him come back next week.
Yeah. But yeah, so I don't know what we'll talk about next week. If there's a lot more spoilers with Dominaria, maybe we'll discuss that. But I kind of want to wait till we have the full thing.
I want to talk about how cool Brawl is going to be.
We did talk about that for about 10, 15 minutes.
I don't want to talk about that anymore.
Done until we actually know what that's going to be about.
If you play Brawl and you think it's cool, you should tweet at us at CommanderSmiths and tell us like how the gameplay is.
How sweet it is.
I could be totally wrong. I am fine. I am open to being wrong. I just normally am not wrong. So.
Oh, good for you, Lowery. You can also shoot us an email at CommanderSmiths@gmail.com, or you can find us on YouTube. Same thing, CommanderSmiths. Our podcast will be up there, and our video, and then we'll have a new Dueling Boxes in a couple weeks here.
Yeah, whenever Dominaria is coming out at the end of April.
Is it
27th?
Okay, so instead of a couple, let's add another week on that. Trey weeks.
4.
Well, I guess
it's at least
we're
27
at the end
days.
of the month. It's about to be the first. That's
days.
like 3.
Oh boy.
Douche canoe. Anyway,
no. There's no canoes involved.
With douching.
With douching. I hope not. That's out in the open.
Yeah. They just gave me a bad visual.
You're the one that said it.
Well, it's just a saying. You're a douche canoe.
No, it's not. It's your saying.
All right, that does it for our episode for today.
Hope you enjoyed.
We'll see you later.
Woo! Canoes.
Canoes. Douches.